The following is a show we're calling On the Horizon. It's a current events-based opinionated show punctuated by chill music. So what does that mean, current events-based opinionated show? Simply put, we start with the news and go from there. We talk about the impact current events have on us and further what that impact means to the progress of our country and our world. We don't pretend to be professional economists or political pundits or anything more than a few college students just trying to work out the problems in the world. It's all in the name of progress. The opinions are our own, not our station's, and it's all live. So, without further ado, this is On the Horizon. Can creativity be synthesized? My name is Alex Popichak, and I'm joined in the studio by Kris Chandler and Sam Morrison. In the next 2 hours, we'll talk about life, news, and what impacts us. This is On the Horizon. This is a segment called The Week That Was. These are the headlines that caught our eye this week, courtesy of the Associated Press, the New York Times, the Post-Gazette, the Globe, and probably some other places we're not citing.
Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died earlier today at the age of 79. Scalia was the longest-serving Supreme Court justice, having served since the Reagan administration. Theoretically, Scalia's replacement would be the third appointment of President Obama.
Senator Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump won decisively in Tuesday's New Hampshire primary. Sanders won with a 60-38% win over Hillary Clinton, and Trump was followed by Ohio Governor John Kasich and Senator Ted Cruz.
A UN task force began work today, Friday, to carry out a plan for immediate humanitarian aid in Syria. The deal was to be followed by a temporary ceasefire.
The U.S. Geological Survey said a 5.1 magnitude earthquake shook northwest Oklahoma today and was felt in 7 other states. This is the third strongest tremor ever recorded in the state, where the power and frequency of earthquake has dramatically increased in recent years.
Uber has agreed to pay $28.5 million to settle a class action lawsuit that took issue with the company's claims that its driver background checks were, quote, industry leading. The terms of the settlement require Uber to pay roughly 25 million riders across the United States.
And finally, Einstein was proved right this week with the first direct evidence of gravitational waves. They are ripples in the fabric of space-time itself that Einstein predicted a century ago. That fulfills Einstein's general theory of relativity and means we now have ears, in addition to eyes, on the universe.
That was the week that was. Welcome to On the Horizon. As I said before, I'm Alex Popichak, and I'm joined with Kris and Sam. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Doing lovely.
So it's very rare that we actually have semi-breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
Sam said right before we came on, what was it that you said? Generally, people die over the course of the week. They don't die right before our show.
Yeah, I cracked a sort of dark joke that, people usually do die at the beginning of the week and then leave us sad for the rest of it. But no, Scalia passed away not that long ago, actually.
It was a couple of hours.
Matter of hours, yeah. And I found out about it lying on my bed before checking my phone and going, "Oh, I have a show to go on to." So, it's very, very interesting timing, too, if you consider the political climate at the time.
It was one of those things. It was brought up during several of the debates about the potential appointment. Someone figured out roughly how many how many appointments that someone would have over the course of the next presidency. And I think this was, it came as a surprise to a lot of people that Scalia had passed away, but this leaves open a very interesting point in that, and the reason in the script it says theoretically.
Yes.
Obama technically is now in the position to, make another nomination.
Mm-hmm.
But the GOP announced within hours of Scalia's passing.
Like, body is still warm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, really,
That's how news works now, and it's so dark. But they announced literally within hours that they would block any nomination that Obama would come up with, which, no one has even been thrown out as a potential candidate,
right.
But they just said on the basis of it,
because Obama,
and because we want the White House right now. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Honestly, it's kind of sad, though. If you think about it, the guy just passed away.
Exactly.
And they're already thinking about his replacement. I mean, it's kind of wrong.
Yeah, there's no like, wow, what a, and he was an interesting guy. I mean, what I love the most about Scalia is he had very interesting choice of words during his dissents. The one that immediately springs to mind was when he referred to one ruling as total applesauce.
Total applesauce.
He also is one of the few prominent legal figures to use the phrase gobbledygook, I believe, or
Gobbledygook.
Jiggery pokery. They used the phrase jiggery pokery in an official court ruling, which you don't hear very often.
Yeah, I mean, the man was originally from Texas, where, and he still had the large ranch and everything there. So, I mean, that's an interesting point to make. He was a very controversial figure in recent years. Now, that was an important point, that he was the longest serving Supreme Court justice. He was appointed during the Reagan administration. So, these are all things to consider when looking at him as a controversial figure now, but either way, our thoughts are with his family, as has been brought up by several statements officially by more official people than us. But for whatever it's worth, we're thinking about your family and everything. And yeah, it's just interesting the timing of this, and the timing of any Supreme Court appointment is a big deal, because it's it is the only position that once appointed, you either retire or pass away. Yeah. That's it. Those are your two options. And so it is a major thing to have a Supreme Court justice pass away, and a major thing to have an opening.
Yeah.
Well, especially one of the big hardliners like Scalia too. Like he was always the dissenter. Like that was just his thing, and he's gone now. So, and there's not even like any whispers on the wind of who his replacement's going to be. There's zero evidence.
There shouldn't be right now.
I mean,
there's definitely
it is literally hours after the fact.
Yeah. I mean, I guarantee you that President Obama doesn't even have like a notebook with a few names scribbled out that he's considering.
Someone else may though.
Someone else, yeah, but like
probably not him though.
Yeah, poor choice of finger right there. I accidentally just flipped Chris off, but yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no anything out here, and immediately the GOP is saying like, well, we're gonna make life hell for the next guy. I mean,
and on the other side of this, I mean, of course he wouldn't have anybody in mind right this second, because it wasn't like this was a prolonged illness or something. Apparently, like
they just found him. Yeah.
This past week, he had said to a friend or two he was not feeling well, and he retired to bed last night as usual, and then he just didn't report for breakfast, and they found him dead in his room. So it was very much a sudden,
very quick.
Yeah. So it's just bizarre, but very interesting to think about.
It really does sort of stir the pot politically. There's a lot that's changed.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see. I presume that President Obama will make an appointment within
the next week.
I don't know, within the next few weeks probably, or at least come up with a short list. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because contrary to popular belief, President Barack Obama is president until like January 20th at like 11:59 in the morning.
True.
So, I mean, he's still president. It's not like
it's not like he's done.
This is what it's not like just because everybody's trying to replace him doesn't mean that his term is not over.
Why
yet.
do I imagine him with like this calendar that he's just like crossing the days off of one by one?
I would if I was president.
With little motivational phrases.
So close.
Especially whenever you've had as much thrown at you as.
If you think about it, though, it probably makes the job easier because like no one's like paying attention to him at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's no probably like press like knocking down his doors for anything. So
fair enough.
So, I mean, hey.
So we do have a little bit look ahead. I was looking up, trying to work into the script somehow this week what the next primaries would be.
Right.
And it turns out they're kind of split. Okay. So you have this coming Saturday, which is 1 week from today, South Carolina, the Republican primary is 1 week from today, and then Nevada's Democratic primary is 1 week from today. And I believe South Carolina has their Democratic primary on like Thursday or something, and then
it switches.
It switches, but it doesn't switch on alternate Saturdays.
No.
One's a Thursday, one's a Saturday, and one's a Saturday. It's bizarre. But up next, that's why the media has pretty much been saying, okay, it's Nevada and South Carolina next, because it
flip-flops.
It flip-flops.
It's weird.
But yeah, New Hampshire was this past week.
Right.
And we learned quite a bit, I guess. I don't know. What do you think the value of that particular primary is?
I feel the most important thing going ahead is 4 months ago, if you had said Trump and Sanders are going to win a primary, no one would have taken you seriously.
Exactly.
And here we are. They both did. And that's fascinating. They both won by almost 20%.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
At least 20%
over the other guys who they're running against. And it's very strange. I mean, again, 4 months ago, if you had told even me, like hardline socialists, like, hey, Bernie's gonna win in New Hampshire, I would have gone,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
he isn't.
Now, who
Good
was
luck with that.
Who was in second for the GOP though?
It was
Ted Cruz.
No, it was Kasich.
Kasich?
Yeah.
My theory is Kasich is gonna pull a Romney and
you think?
really surge up in the last few months.
Now, when you say pull a Romney,
right.
refresh my memory. It's been a couple of years.
You mean lose the general elections, right?
Well, during 2008, Romney was sort of like in the back the whole time, like going like, I'm still running for president, guys. I'm still here. And
not as sad as Rick Santorum.
Not as sad as Santorum, but like he was there and he was not really making much waves. And as the primaries went on, it was just sort of like everyone's going, oh yeah, he's not crazy. And they voted for him. And he just sort of blew up out of nowhere and wound up getting the nominations. That's my theory on Kasich, but who knows?
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible, especially with Donald Trump in the mix.
I think he was just lucky. I mean, if you think about it, Ted Cruz and, can't think of his name.
Ted Cruz, there's Jeb Bush, and there's Kasich, there's...
Ben Carson.
No, not Carson.
No,
I forget he was still in this. What's his name?
I mean, we've whittled down the field,
Rubio.
but not enough.
Rubio.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to think of them. I think they're going to end up being getting to the leads again, like they were in what was it? Iowa.
Yeah.
Again, we've said Iowa isn't a microcosm for the rest of the United States. Neither is New Hampshire.
New Hampshire,
but it's just interesting how much back and forth ping-ponging the primary schedule is, because that's the one thing. I mean, election day, when it's going to be as far as a national, and it's all at once, but it's not like any geographic order whatsoever as to these primaries.
It honestly makes no sense at all. I mean, I'd love to work out like how they were created. This is probably a Google search I can do for that, but like it just seems like someone sort of threw up on a map and threw some darts and said, that's the order. I mean...
Well, I think it has to do with the states are in charge of setting up the elections. And so this is the states...
Yeah, it's the thing. Yes.
And I guess they have some sort of mutual agreement that Iowa comes first, and then this happens next, and I will never understand it, but... What do you think? What's your analysis, Chris, overall, the next direction here?
How do you mean? You mean like the leads for the...
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Trump is going to stay in the lead for the GOP, and he may end up getting the nomination, as much as I fear that.
We're all shaking our boots here.
I think he will get it, maybe by a slim margin, but he will get it. But when it comes to Clinton and Sanders, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm a big Clinton supporter, hands down. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot of back and forth. And, like, I love them both. Like, I wouldn't be mad if either of them got the nomination, but...
I mean, they're both pretty solid
candidates. They're both pretty solid candidates, and Clinton, she's obviously more in the middle. Sanders way far to the left. But they share the same ideals. You know what I mean?
And I think it's a very important point that they're both decent candidates. I don't know that you can say that very much for
There's
the
no
GOP
Ted
side.
Cruz of the Democratic Party.
No. My one friend refers to him as the Weeping Goblin because...
See, I describe Ted Cruz's resting expression as teenage girl who got the wrong color pony.
Aww.
Like, he looks at the same time like profoundly dissatisfied and vaguely upset. Wow. Okay, it's a bay, but I wanted a chestnut. Like, he's a very strange looking guy, but I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but still, like,
But we get the point.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a presidential face. There
Right.
you go. That's the
Right.
point to that. He does not. He's not a Kennedy, you know? So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still a long road, obviously.
oh yeah,
But
we're 2 for 48 at the moment. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We've got time.
Like, you know, a lot can still happen. A lot can still come out. People can still make huge mistakes. But I think in the end, it's going to be Trump, unfortunately.
Well,
It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge. But in regards to the Democrats, I'm not too sure.
Do you think that'll be a race that'll come down to the convention, or honestly, either of them come down to the convention? Will political conventions actually be relevant this time around?
For the Democratic one, yes. GOP, probably
No.
not too much
Yeah.
because it's just so split apart, you know?
I think the interesting thing too to keep in mind with the Democratic convention is they are going out of their way to support Hillary.
True.
And
that is, I forgot about
there's
that.
going to be a lot of pitchfork waving if
Definitely, I
if
forget
Hillary's
all
the
about
nomination
that.
just because of the convention.
Well, if Bernie wins the popular vote,
Right.
definitely, there will be pitchfork. There will be pitchfork waving either way. There always is. But do you think this will actually be something that will need to be watched based on how superdelegates work and how all this other style thing works?
It's like you saw a ghost like looking out the corner of the window
Yeah,
right
I
there.
did.
Yeah. You know, I genuinely don't know. I mean, the super delegates are like the big gamble here. We don't know what's going
Yeah.
to happen there. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to keep my eye on the Democratic convention because
Politics,
It'll be
yeah.
close.
politics.
It'll be close.
It
though.
will be close, definitely.
Yeah.
And like I said, the GOP is so split apart in so many different factions that I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. I mean, you're going to have your Trump supporters, obviously, your Cruz and your Bush supporters and Rubio's, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. In all honesty.
Fair enough, a mixed bag. And then before we go to break here, our segment that we
yes.
decided is going to be a segment, You Had One Job. I just have written down here in like the rundown for the show, Bernie sandwiches. Okay, what
Please
does this
explain.
mean?
Right.
Please.
So I found this one this morning. Actually, my mom sent me the link. It was on Stephen Colbert's new show. It was Chris Hayes doing coverage of the Democratic primary, and Hayes is usually very good, but he does have a habit of getting excited, and he was getting excited, and he referred to Bernie Sanders as Bernie sandwiches, and it just rolled off his tongue, and he kept going completely unaware of his mistake. And Colbert decided to dedicate 9 minutes to pulling sandwiches out from under his desk and making
Oh my
sandwich puns
gosh.
about Bernie Sanders.
You had one job.
Feel the mayo.
It was. He's running against a Cuban, and he's
Oh my
fighting against the
gosh.
rich boys for the po' boys.
Oh my god.
Wow.
It was a work of art right there.
Oh, wow. So that is this week's installment of You Had One Job. You're listening to On the Horizon on 670 AM WPPJ. We'll be right back with music as curated by Chris. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge.
Huge. It's gonna be huge.
I'm pretty sure it'll be great. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't seen the list of what you're playing. So we'll be right back after these short messages. Hey, this is Alex, and I'm joined by Kris and Sam for our show On the Horizon, where we bring you our thoughts on current events and news. Join us from 8 to 10 p.m. on Saturdays right here on WPPJ 670 AM.